So in the comments on several of our recent videos, we've had a lot of people asking for us to do more kind of just a garden walk around, kind of show what's growing, what's working, what's not working. And we've had a lot of people asking for an update on the Dream Garden here. And so I just kind of wanted to do that today, walk you around, show you what's working, show you what's not working. Even though we call this the Dream Garden because it's our dream layout, everything growing here this spring hasn't been a dream. This soil here has been pretty tough to work with. It's pretty hard dirt. It's crazy how you can walk 50 feet in the other direction and have some nice sandy soil. But here in the Dream Garden, it's some pretty tough stuff. When it crusts over, it's so hard you can't hardly get in there and work it. But we're going to be able to add some organic matter hopefully and get that fixed, do some cover cropping, add a little gypsum in there, add some organic material and get this soil more workable. We're probably going to have to do some pH adjusting as well. Doesn't seem like everything's really absorbing the nutrients as much as they should be. But anyway, we're going to end up with some good crops this year out of the Dream Garden, and let's see what we got going on. If you haven't seen our other videos where we talk about how we design this Dream Garden, go check those out. But this is basically 6 subplots. Each subplot is 30 by 35. Now on camera, this space looks a lot bigger than it actually is, but it's only really 120 by 80 with 10-foot walkways in between each plot. So it's really only about 1/4 of an acre or around 10,000 square feet, but it looks a lot bigger on camera. But it's a great way to design a garden and an easy way to keep everything rotated. So this is plot number 1 in the Dream Garden. And this was the first plot we planted, and we planted potatoes here. And as you can see, we've already harvested a good majority of those. We harvested all the early varieties. We got out the red potatoes and the purple potatoes, and the Yukon Golds were next. And then there's still 3 rows of German butterballs over there. I've already came in here with a tiller and leveled out where I dug the other potatoes just so I can have this thing ready to go to plant some cover crops in here and help work on building that soil as soon as I get those other potatoes out of the ground. Here's those German butterballs I was talking about. Now, these are a later variety, so they're going to mature about 20 days later than the rest of your potatoes. You can see they're starting to die back, and it's been hot. We're having a hard time keeping enough water on them. Well, they're still kicking, and those potatoes are still getting a little bigger. And probably be another week or 2 before we harvest these, and we'll have all our potatoes out of the ground. And then on plot number 2 here, we've got our cucurbits planted, we've got our summer squash and our cucumbers. We've got the squash planted in the middle there, and we've got the cucumbers planted on the outside of the plot there on those cattle panels. We've got 1 row of pickling cucumbers, 1 row of what we call slicing cucumbers, the Stonewall variety. The cucumbers are doing really good. We've lost a few of our summer squash here and there. You know, probably some disease issues that we need to work on in the future here. But we're still getting a decent harvest of squash every other day, getting a really good harvest of cucumbers. And so not a complete failure, but definitely some work to do there on this plot here. And behind door number 3, or plot number 3 here, we've got our rattlesnake pole beans on the trellis, and we've got our tomatoes. We've got 2 rows of indeterminate tomatoes, and we've got 3 rows of determinate tomatoes. We're trying out 3 different hybrid disease-resistant varieties of determinate tomatoes, kind of see which ones work best for our areas. More on that in another video. But the pole beans are doing really good. The determinate tomatoes are doing pretty good, and the indeterminate tomatoes are starting to put on a little bit of fruit. Right here we've got a nice cluster of sun gold tomatoes, even got a couple at the bottom there. They're almost ready to pick. We'll let those get a little darker before we pick those up, and those will be great in a salad. But these sun golds are producing really well. We like to see those big old clusters of these cherry tomatoes, and man, those things are good to eat. And then we've got some Amish paste tomatoes here that are kind of like your Roma style tomatoes. Got some nice clusters on those. Those are looking really good for this time of year, considering how hot and dry it's been. This drip tape has really paid off so far this year. And then our determinate tomatoes are right here. We've got our Mountain Glory on this first row, the Brickyard on the second row, and the Bella Rosa, which is a variety we've grown many years before, on the third row. We've lost a few of the Mountain Glories, but that's okay. Kind of expect that in this part of the country where the disease pressure is really high. Well, we've got some really nice clusters of tomatoes there. They're looking good. We are on our third or fourth line of string on our Florida weave trellis. Trying out wheat straw this year in the middle of those, which is a little different technique, trying to keep the weeds down, keep more moisture in the soil, and we'll have to do another video updating you on how that's working. And then in plot number 4 here, we've got more nightshades. We've got our peppers and our eggplants. This weekend we came in here, went ahead and put our stakes up for the Florida weed, put some of that wheat straw down there like we're doing for the tomatoes. Excited to see how that's going to turn out. These peppers started pretty slow. They didn't do a whole lot after we transplanted them. But we came in here with some Epsom salt and we put some of our new Micro Boost down, and man, they really took off and greened up after that. We've got some small fruits on those. We haven't ran the first line of string yet, but we'll be doing that soon. And so it looks like the peppers and the eggplant are going to be just fine since we added some of those micronutrients to the soil. And then in plot number 5, we've got our incredible sweet corn here. We showed you in a previous video how we heal and side dress that with our Chilean nitrate. Man, after we did that, this stuff really took off. Now, I don't think it's going to get traditionally sweet corn tall up to about 6 foot tall. I think it's going to end up being shorter, but I've had sweet corn do that before in the past where it makes it about 4 or 5 foot tall and ends up doing just fine. So it's green, it's got plenty of water to it, looks healthy, just not going to be as tall, which will be just fine, but we expect it to make all right. And then the final plot in our dream garden here, plot number 6, is probably the one that I'm most proud of. This is the one where we planted our winter squash. We planted half of it in the Small Wonder spaghetti squash, which is a tried and true awesome producer, and then we planted the other half in that high kabocha squash. And man, this winter squash looks really good. Hasn't shown any signs of disease so far. The leaves look really green and nice. We've already got lots of fruits being put on here. Lots of blooms in the morning time, and just been keeping plenty of water to it. And like I said, this right here is my pride and joy of the dream garden so far. So it's been a nice learning experience. It's almost like I'm a brand new beginning gardener again in the spot here. I have to kind of relearn everything over and over again because this spot behaves so much differently than my established garden spots where I've been growing in for 5 or 6 years. But it's a good lesson. It lets you know that, hey, things aren't always perfect. You're going to have to adapt. You're going to have to change things. And if you're a new gardener out there, don't ever get discouraged if you have some squash plants die or you have some tomato plants die. It's going to be okay. You can always plant some more there next year. You can always plant some okra or some cover crop, something like that, that you know are going to do well. And you got to just build that soil. You got to work on it over time. This is not an overnight venture by any means. And so we'll get there in the next year or two. We'll work at it, build these soils, and I hope you enjoyed this walk around. We'll see you guys on the next video.